Remember when you came back from school and just couldn't wait for noon so you could run outside and fly kites? Yep, I did the same in my childhood. But do you know, kites are not a modern invention. They are much older than we ever thought. And there are so many types of kite around the world that you probably never seen. From the largest kite to the tiniest one, I will show you all of them in this video. For every child, flying a kite always felt magical. Looking up at the sky, wishing it was filled with more kites. And when one kite got cut, running to catch it was the best feeling. Did you ever imagine what if the whole sky was filled with kites? Like everywhere you look, just kites, and you could catch so many of them. I used to dream about that in my childhood too. I never saw it happen in real life, but in this video, I'll make that dream alive. But for that, you have to do one thing, which I will tell you later. But before we fill the sky with kites, let's first to know why did the history of kite actually begin, and who invented the first kite, and what kind of experiment was Benjamin Franklin doing with his kite. If you don't know who Benjamin Franklin is, don't worry, this guy. We will know everything in video. Nearly 3000 years ago in China, people invented something that would change the sky forever. The kite. And no, it wasn't made for kids on a rooftop shouting when a kite got cut. Back then, it was serious business. You might be wondering, serious business? What does that mean? Kites were used for many practical and ceremonial purposes. Military signaling, different shapes, sizes, and patterns helped send messages to soldiers over long distance. Measuring and surveying. Kites were used to study distances, topography, and enemy territory for planning purposes. Military training. Controlling a kite taught soldiers skill, focus, and coordination. Ceremonial and religious uses. Kites were flown to scare away evil spirits, bring good luck, or celebrate festivals. China had all the perfect materials lying around. Bamboo for strong yet light frames, silk fabric for the sails, and high tensile slick thread for flying lines. The earliest Chinese kites weren't even bowed like we see today. Many were flat and rectangular. Some even had whistle attached, so when they flew they made spooky ghost-like sound in the sky. Imagine standing there hearing your kite whistle at you. I think it's judging my life choices. From China, kites started traveling across Asia to Korea, Japan, Myanmar, India, Arabia, North Africa, and even the Pacific Islands, including Easter Island. Some places like Malaya and South Seas already had their own kites made from leaves. So now the question is, who invented the first kite? Maybe China, maybe the Pacific Islands. But one thing is clear, humans everywhere had the same idea. Let's tie something to a string and make it fly. The truth is, we don't know exactly who created first kite. There are no single inventor recorded in history. It likely appeared first in China over 2500 years ago, and similar ideas may have arisen independently in other places. But even without knowing the first inventor, kites become a timeless symbol of human curiosity and creativity that we are going to know about later in the story. But one thing I have to say, China is so creative. They look at a stick, some paper, and thought, yeah, let's make this fly. And obviously they did. Moving to Asia, one of the most famous type of kite in Asia was the fighter kite. These were small, flat, diamond-shaped kites made of paper with a thin bamboo spine. The trick, no tails. Tails make them too slow. Instead, the strings were coated with glass dust or sharp grass. The goal was simple, cut your opponent's kite string mid-air. Every country had slightly different rules, but the game was the same. Skill, strategy, and precision. Basically the ancient version of PUBG, but with paper and string. But Europe was late to the kite party. While Asia had been flying and battling with kites for centuries, Europe didn't even have proper kite designs until the 1600s in Holland and England. During the Middle Ages, they had banners and flags on poles that resemble kites, but they weren't the same. By the 18th century, Europeans flew pear-shaped or flight kites, mostly with tails, primarily as toy for children. Then came the scientists. In 1749, Alexander Wilson in Scotland tied two kites together in a kite train. Now, you might think he attached kites to an actual train, but no, he simply connected one kite after another in the sky. He did this to measure temperatures at different altitudes. You also might be wondering how he can measure temperatures with kites. Well, here's how. Wilson tied small thermometers to the kite string, one higher and lower. As the kites went up, each thermometer recorded the air's temperature at its height. When the kites were pulled back down, he checked the thermometers and compared them. That's how he figured out that the higher you go, the colder it gets. But the most famous kite experiment came in 1752 when Benjamin Franklin stepped into the storm with his lightning kite. He flew a flat silk kite during a thunderstorm with a metal key tied to the string. The key became electrified, proving that lightning was electricity. Imagine Franklin's son nervously holding the string while Franklin yelled, "Don't let go!" Neighbors probably thought these two are going to die. Luckily, they survived, and Franklin went on to invent the lightning rod. Kites weren't done yet. In the 19th century, people started experimenting with man-lifting kites. Sir George Cayley, known as the father of aeronautics, used Earth-shaped kites to study flight. In 1853, he even built a glider that carried the first recorded manned flight. Later, Otto Lilienthal in Germany experimented with early hang gliders in the 1890s. Then came the Wright brothers, bicycle shop owners from Ohio around 1900. Before attempting power flight, they built a small biplane kite to test wing warping, their new way of steering in the air. In simple terms, Wright brothers made a small experimental kite to prove that twisting the wings could really control direction. That little kite proved the idea worked, and it became the foundation for their gliders and eventually the first airplane. That small experiment gave them the confidence to keep going until in 1903 they achieved the first successful power flight. Yes, your last vacation flight began with a kite, and then the kite's role changed, with airplanes and modern technology taking over. Kites stopped being scientific instruments and began mostly toys again. Adults left them behind except for some weather experiments here and there. But kids, they never stop. In my area, it's a fun way to spend time, and I believe you're also. And here's the beautiful part. Kites come in many shapes, colors, and sizes. You might have seen normal kite, but have you ever seen a dragon kite that stretches across the sky, or a butterfly kite that flutters like it's alive? There are kites shaped like birds, superheroes, and even big octopuses that move with the wind. Each kite is special and flies in its own way. And most importantly, do you know which kite is the tiniest and which one is the biggest? But before that, can you guess the size of the largest kite? If you know, share it in the comments. The largest kite ever flown stretches over 1,000 square meters. That's bigger than some houses. Meanwhile, the smallest flyable kite is only a few millimeters wide, tiny enough to rest on your fingertip. And here's the mind-blowing part. When you compare their areas, the largest kite is about 15 million times bigger than the tiniest one. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. Have you ever wondered how many types of kites exist? You might think all kites are the same, but wait until you see how different they really are. Across cultures and centuries, kites have appeared in countless shapes and styles, each designed for a special purpose, whether for play, sport, science, or even ceremony. Let's explore the main classification of kites. Flat kites. Flat kites are the oldest and simplest kind of kite. Imagine a piece of paper or cloth stretches tightly over a frame made of sticks. That's basically a flat kite. The most famous example is diamond-shaped kite that almost everyone has seen or flown at least once. Flat kites fly because of the angle of their bridle and string. The bridle is the little piece of string connecting the kite to the main flying line, and adjusting its angle makes all the difference. If it's too flat, the kite won't rise. Too steep and it might fall or spin. But when set just right, the wind pushes against the kite's surface and lifts it high into the sky. And don't worry, if you're wondering how to fly a kite or even how kites actually fly, we will uncover all of that a little later. Flat kites are found all over the world, especially in traditional festivals. India and Bangladesh, during celebration like Makar Sankranti or Posh Sankranti, the sky are filled with hundreds of flat paper kites. People compete by cutting each other's stings with sharp thread called Manzha. In Japan, traditional Edo kites are flat and decorated with bold artwork such as samurai, dragons, or famous heroes. They are flown during festivals like Children's Day. Flat kites may be simple, but they are the root of kite history. Without them, other advanced kite would not exist. Like bow kites. A bow kite is a kite that is little curved like a smile. Because of the curve, the wind pushes the kite evenly. That means the kite doesn't wobble or spin too much. Even if the wind is little strong or changes, the kite stays calm and flies nicely. Because bow kites are easy to handle, they are often flown by casual flyers who just want a relaxing time without worrying about crashes. Children who need something steady and safe. Bow kites are sometimes used in school or kite clubs to teach kids how kites work because they are very predictable and don't need much adjustment. In short, bow kites are like the friendly teacher of the kite world. They make sure almost everyone can enjoy flying without frustration. Delta kites. Delta kites are shaped like a triangle, often with long tails for balance. They are very popular because they are lightweight, stable, and efficient. Delta kites perform especially well in light winds, while other kites might just fall. A delta kite can easily rise with very little breeze, lifting them high into the sky. Delta kites are not just for play. Because they fly so steadily at high altitudes, they are sometimes used for aerial photography, attaching a camera to take pictures from the sky, and also for banner displays like carrying flags, advertisements, or messages at events, and obviously for science, measuring wind speed or temperature at different heights.
Hey everybody, I'm Susie Taylor. I'm at MSU. We're going to fly kites for science today. This is a NASA project, so we're going to fly this big kite. It's a 10-foot delta. We're going to attach this Kestrel atmospheric data logger on it. It will tell us the temperature, the humidity, the barometric pressure, and the altitude as the kite goes up.
Delta kites are often the choice for people who want something simple yet powerful. Next we have on the list parafoil kites. Parafoil kites are different from traditional kites because they don't have any sticks or hard frames. Instead, they are made from fabric with built-in air pockets. When the wind blows, the air fills these pockets and gives the kite its shape just like a parachute. Once inflated by the wind, parafoil kites become strong and powerful. Their design creates a lot of lift. This makes them useful for sport and activities that need strength. They are often used for kiteboarding and kite surfing. Riders use large parafoil kites to pull themselves across water. Power kiting, people use them on land with skateboards or buggies being pulled along by the wind. Parafoil kites show how kites are not just toys anymore. They are part of exciting adventure sport. Next we have the box kites. Box kites. Box kites are three-dimensional kites made of circular connected cells or boxes. Instead of being flat, they look like open cubes or tubes with fabric stretches between the frames. Because of the structure, box kites are very stable in the wind. Where a flat kite might wobble or crash, a box kite can hold its position firmly. In the late 1800s, people all over the world were trying to figure out how to make humans fly. One of the inventors was Lawrence Hargrave, an Australian who was also an astronomer and explorer. He was born in England but moved into Australia when he was young. Hargrave spent a lot of time studying birds and how they flew. That's the reason he invented the box kite in 1893. Unlike regular flat kites, the box kite had a three-dimensional box shape. This made it stronger and more stable in the wind. On 12 November 1894, Hargrave connected 4 box kites together and added a seat. When the wind lifted the kites, he rose 16 feet off the ground. This experiment proved that it was possible to lift a person with a machine heavier than air. Other inventors were inspired by his work. For example, Samuel Franklin Cody added wings to Hargrave's design, like box kite plus wings equal Cody kite. Box kites were useful even years later. During World War II, pilots who crashed into the sea used small kites with their life rafts. This kite could lift radio antennas high into the air so that rescue signals could be sent. Hargrave also experimented by attaching instruments and small weights to study how much a kite could lift. These studies helped inventors and scientists understand flight better and contributed to the development of airplanes. Even today, kites are used for fun, and in some places, people enjoy kite fighting, trying to cut each other's kite strings. But the box kite is remembered as an important invention that helped humans take the first steps toward flying. Fighter kites. Fighter kites are one of the most exciting types of kite in the world. They are not just flown for fun but also for competition. Imagine two people flying their kites in the sky. Both are trying to cut each other's kite string. The winner is the person whose kite remains flying while the other kite falls down. This is the basic idea of fighter kites. Fighter kites are usually small and light. They are often made of thin paper, stretched over a bamboo or wooden frame. Because they are so light, they can move very fast in the air. The shape is usually flat and simple, often diamond-like, but they can also come in other shapes depending on the region. What makes fighter kites unique is not just the fighter kite itself, but the string. The string is often coated with a special powder made of crushed glass and glue. You might be wondering how this actually works, like how this special coating is made, how it's applied to the string, and even how can you do it yourself. Don't worry, here's how it's done. First, you are cooked. You have to cook rice. That is called kanji and it's used as the main ingredient. Then glass powder is mixed into the cooked rice to make a kind of dough. Along with that, glue, colors and a little bit of water are added to get a thick semi-solid mixture. Once the dough is ready, cotton threads are stretched tightly between two poles in several layers. Then the artisan starts the coloring process. The threads are first dipped into black water and left to dry. After drying, they are separated and colored again using the rice and glass dough mixture. The colored dough is rubbed thoroughly along the thread so it sticks evenly. Then the threads are wound onto small spools called frikis. While spinning, the artisan keeps a little dough in their hand so the coating spreads smoothly along the thread. Finally, the frikis are labeled and packaged, ready for kite flyers to use in battles up in the sky. This makes the string rough and sharp. When two kites cross paths in the sky, the strings rub against each other. The sharper string cuts the other and the cut kite drifts away or falls. This cutting battle called kite fighting, and it is a popular sport in many countries. Fighter kites are especially famous in South Asia, Japan, and parts of the Middle East. In countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, kite fighting is a traditional game. During festivals like Basant Panchami in India or Shankrain in Bangladesh, the sky filled with thousands of fighter kites. People go to rooftops and open fields to fly them. The whole community joins in the excitement. Fighter kites are not just about flying, they are about skill. The flyer must control the kite carefully, giving slack and pulling the string at the right time. This makes the kite move quickly, dodge attacks, and strike at the opponent. It's almost like sword fighting, but in the sky. The thrill of cutting another kite and watching it drift away is something that excites both children and adults. Maybe because for a moment, it feels like life suddenly becomes simple. No stress, 2015, no deadlines, just wind, sky, and that tiny paper enemy you are trying to defeat. It's more than just a game, it's a social movement. People stand on rooftops cheering when they win a fight. Kite fight. Obviously, fighter kites show how something as simple as paper and string can turn into a sport filled with skill, tradition, and community spirit. See, right now, I don't have the energy to explain every type of kite in detail. Well, but I can do for you at least share their names and add a few small notes so you basically get a quick idea. When I gain more calories, I will definitely dive deeper into each one. If you want, here are some popular types of kites. Sport or stunt kites. These are dual line or quad line kites designed for sharp turns. Rokaku kites. Traditional Japanese six-sided kites known for their stability. And kite fighting ability using push and pull techniques. Slat kites. Simple, lightweight kites with a flexible frame, easy to launch and great for beginners. Dragon kites. Long, floating kites inspired by mythical dragons, often made of multiple connected segments that move beautifully in the wind. Dragon kites are some of the most majestic and symbolic kites ever created. They are not only about flying but also about culture, history and art. These kites are especially well known in China, where they have been flown for hundreds, even thousands of years. Dragon kites are very different from ordinary kites. Instead of being just one flat shape, a dragon kite is made of many sections joined together, forming a long, flowing body. At the front is usually the head of the dragon, often large, colorful and decorated with fair eyes, open jaws and sometimes even whiskers or horns. Behind the head comes the body, which is made of many round or diamond-shaped pieces connected by strings so that they move like the stegans of a snake or dragon. Finally, at the end, there is the tail, which may be long and decorated with streamers. In big festivals, it is not unusual to see dragon kites so long that they look like rivers of color in the air. Flying a dragon kite takes skill and teamwork because obviously it is so long. Come on. During festivals, especially the Chinese New Year and Weifang International Kite Festival, dragon kites are flown to celebrate joy, unity and cultural pride. For many people, seeing a dragon kite in flight is not just fun but also moving. It is a reminder of how humans take inspiration from nature, myth and belief to create something that can soar. Alright, that's today's episode. Next time we will dive into how to make a kite.